Stan Dyker, and coming off of another hot and, well, somewhat of a wet race weekend last weekend at the Crosse Speedway. Of course, we taped the program on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I really wish we could have done this one later in the weekend, as the Tundra Super Late Models will be at the Crosse Speedway on Friday night, and the Smash-A-Rama coming up on Saturday night. But we will be replaying both of those during Nights of Thunder this coming week, and maybe between segments I'll be able to find out what that schedule is going to be, as we'll be able to let you know when you can watch the Tundras and the Tundra Sportsman and the Vintage and the Classic, the Midwest Truck Series, what day that's going to be on this week, and then we'll let you know what day we're going to have Smash-A-Rama on. I would think it's going to be Thursday for one and Sunday night for the other, but we'll get some clarification on that. Another good week of racing at the Crosse Speedway. Had an abrupt shower roll through. Didn't even see that one coming. I think there was about, probably 4 or 5 of us up on the tower. Had our cell phones open, and we were watching the radar. Chuck Deary also has the Deary Doppler radar in his office, and that abrupt shower that came about kind of washed some things away. Almost had a rain delay for about an hour, but the drivers had a whole bunch of them, so they all graciously came out, dried off the track. We got things going about 9:30. And only race we really had to dump was the Thunderstock Dash, as we wanted to make sure we got all the features in, since we had quite a few of them before the rains had come again, which of course they did about 1 o'clock in the morning. So all in all, it was a great night and a great crowd. Both party decks were completely packed. Of course, it was Pischke Motors night last Saturday, so had a moment of silence for the Rocket Man Tom Phil, who passed away this year, a longtime late model driver. And of course, well, you see his car colors and car number embedded in the Eckerberg Racing family. So I want to thank all those folks that came out and remember the Rocket Man, and they had a great time as well. Longkeeper's party deck was full. Grandstands looked really good this week as well, as it was a fan autograph night of the racetrack. And you'll see some of the interviews I did on the racetrack in the next couple of weeks. We'll try to squeeze some of those in, especially some of the longer ones of drivers we have yet to get on this program in year number 6. So as we normally do, we're going to take you back to last weekend, give you the late model recap with the Quick Trip NASCAR late models. Brad Powell took a couple of weeks off. When he came back at Ford fresh new tires, and well, as you're going to see from the replay, pretty much topped the field almost by an entire half a track length. Brad Powell took the checkered flag, started 7th. He was in the top 3 by lap 3. From there, Powell took 2nd at lap 5, and then 1 lap later, lap 6. Never had to look back, as he'll take the checkered flag. And what another nice victory for BP Brad Powell, as he's back at the racetrack. Steve Carlson came across the line 2nd. Mike Carlson took him some time to do it. Carter Christensen almost had his first ever podium finish. He ended up 4th, but Mike Carlson caught him with about 9 to go. With 3 to go is when the pass actually happened for Carlson to grab 3rd. So Mike Carlson and Steve Carlson, their respective average finishes this year are 1st and 2nd. And I think it's been a long time since I've seen a driver capitalize that much week after week, let alone a father-son team. Here's what the top 3 had to say after the race.
You'd get out of that and get a podium finish.
Well, I'm out of breath, I can tell you that. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be able to catch him. And I seen Dad up there, and I didn't even know who was leading. I don't know, the track started getting slippery and wet, and I don't know if the moisture started coming out, but it started getting bad.
Well, another top 3 finish tonight, brought to you by Taco John's as well. How about it for Mike Carlson? His average finish this year is 2nd. That's where he finishes again. How about it for Steve Carlson? Boy, my friend, you look awfully spent.
No, it's just hot out is all.
Well, I tell you what, Brad had already checked out of that one there, and all of a sudden Carter Christensen, kind of a repeat from last week in taking the door-to-door, and Mike coming on hard throwing.
Yeah, I didn't have a real good car in that feature. It was really loose. I don't know if it was the rain or what, but the car just didn't have any bite.
Another 2nd place finish this year for Steve Carlson, got the championship suit, and how about it for the king of the short tracks? Feature race winner, was gone for a couple of weeks. What an impressive win, Brad Powell. Steve said, Mike said he had no clue who was in the race lead. You were out to such a big lead.
Well, this thing worked really good tonight.
Tell you, you had a couple of week absence, no rust to shake off whatsoever, man. I mean, I haven't seen a win like that in a while.
Well, I don't know. It's been a good car all year.
Well, it has been, and he's back with a feature race win. One more time, Brad Powell.
So again, BP Brad Powell takes home the feature race win. Steve Carlson took second. Mike Carlson took third. Late model drivers are off this week. I know a lot of them are taking some vacations. I've already seen some Six Flags and some other pictures showing up on Facebook and social media. And late model drivers taking a well rest for the rest of this weekend. As for the sportsmen and the rest of the drivers, they too will be having off this weekend. As again, Friday night, it's the Tundra Super Late Models and Sportsmen. Not sure how many lacrosse sportsmen will actually enter that race. Smash-A-Rama coming up Saturday. We will have the Hornets, a whole bunch of them. They're going to have the night by themselves racing amongst all the debris and scattered stuff that'll be smashed over the racetrack. Thunder Stocks and Street Stocks and Outlaws are all going to have the night off as well. Some of those drivers need it too. There was some carnage out there last weekend, and these drivers told me after the race, it's a good thing we don't race this week because now they have some extra time to get things welded and fended back, especially when you look at Randy Humfeld and Sam Niles, the two sportsman drivers that got into it about midway through their sportsman feature. They've got some time to get some things collectively figured out in about a week's time. And we're going to show you that crash as we take a brief break. We're going to come back, show you what happened last week in the Sportsman, Thunder Stocks, and the Street Stocks. And our guest in the program today, one of our Thunder Stock drivers, and we will let you know more about what he's got in store for the rest of the year. Coming up next on Seven Rivers Racing.
The next time you visit the west coast of Wisconsin, there's a hotel in La Crosse you need to check into. Here's General Manager Roxanne North.
We want to treat every guest with the best that we have to offer, and that starts with the front desk all the way through the housekeeping department. My general philosophy in life is I treat my staff the way I want to be treated, and I pass that on that we treat our guests that way.
For reservations, visit the website, settlein.com.
People come here, we want them to feel like family.
Have you tried the great lunch buffet at Pizza Hut? Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1:30, Pizza Hut in La Crosse and Winona offers you an all-you-can-eat lunch buffet for just $5.99. All the salad, pasta, breadsticks, and of course, delicious piping hot pizza you can eat. Want to try something really special? Pizza Hut is now featuring a bacon-stuffed crust pizza. Apple smoked bacon with melty cheese and stuffed in the crust. Just $12.99 for one topping at your La Crosse and Winona Pizza Hut. Call for delivery or order online. Pizza Hut.
Whatever your perfect temperature, you'll enjoy consistent comfort with the heating and air conditioning systems homeowners rank #1. American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
Get up to $1,100 off on select American Standard systems. Call Carey Heating or visit AmericanStandardAir.com for complete program eligibility, dates, details, and restrictions. Carey Heating and Air Conditioning, your residential specialist.
Hi, race fans. Welcome back. Settlers Racing, KQEG TV. I'm Dan Dyke. We're going to talk to one of our Thunderstock drivers here in just a couple of moments. First off, going to take you back to the recaps that we did from last Saturday night's racing at the Crosse Speedway. Of course, these recaps all after the rains were gone, so you'll notice some of the infield areas were still a little bit wet, but we still got some great feature racing in, and we're going to start things off with the last two laps of the Sportsman last week, and really, now, there's not much to recap. I could say Nick Clements and just close this part of the show out, and that's exactly what we saw. Nick Clements got the top spot about halfway through the feature event, and this time did not have to look back, didn't have to battle Brad Worthen, didn't have to battle Justin Mulliken. Steve Bachman was tailing by about 4 or 5 car lengths through the rest of this one here. From lap 8 on, it was Steve Bachman and Brian Hasselberg, and looking at the considerable gaps between those two drivers, looks like that's where they were going to settle in for the rest of the night for their podium finishes. For Nick Clements, it was feature win number 4 on the year. Brian Hasselberg and Steve Bachman still looking for those first feature wins, but they still stay in the top 3 and 4 in points. Of course, Brad Worthen is up there, as well as Justin Mulliken, and I think it's only going to be a little bit of time this year before Mulliken can actually get himself a feature race when he's come awfully close a couple of times. That was the story with Brad Worthen last year, and if you look at this year, Worthen's already picked up 2 feature wins on the season. Got to take you back to about the midway portion of this one right here as well, and it was a hot, sticky night. There wasn't much wind blowing after the rains that already came through, and that spelled double trouble for Randy Humfeld. As you'll notice, he'll come out of turn 4, and it looked like it was an unassisted turn as Humfeld starts sliding sideways down the front straightaway, and you see that heavy smoke. It wasn't going anywhere, and pretty much all the drivers I've talked to that were coming into turn 4 really couldn't see what was going on. And I talked to Sam Niles after the race. Well, you see right there when Niles ends up hitting Randy Humfeld with a big T-bone, did a lot of damage. I think a lot more in Randy's car than what I'd seen on Facebook compared to Sam when he came up and talked to me afterwards on some of the things they knew they could get repaired right off the bat. And luckily have the week off for those two drivers to get things back and repaired and back on the racetrack. So some heavy smoke just attributed to that one right there. Niles looked up. I saw smoke and felt the jarring effect of hitting the number 6 of Randy Humfeld sideways. So hopefully both of those guys can get him corrected and back on the track. Do want to commend Randy Humfeld, by the way. We were at Madison International Speedway about a week ago as I called the Great Northern Sportsman Series race, and Humfeld, you see him struggle this year at the Crosse Speedway in that new car. Went down and picked up a dash race win on Wisconsin's fastest half-mile MIS, cut a tire down during the feature and pretty much spoiled the rest of his night. So congratulations went out to Humfeld. To the Thunderstocks we go, and let's go the last two. I noticed Mark Chalet right off the bat during practice session, something different about his number 4 car, / number 13, and it was his tires. Looked like he had 4 brand new Hoosiers on that ride as he came off of the Thunderstock feature last weekend. That's exactly right. Did triple duty as he was racing an Outlaw, the Sportsman, and the Thunderstocks. After the race, he said, "That's what happens when I finally invest in 4 new tires." Chalet picks up his first, a lot of people had said it was his first ever Thunderstock feature win, and he did this one in style on the Action Track quarter mile. And the big fight as Chalet had taken off was between Jason Bolster and Bill Schott. They came from the middle of the pack and ended up 2nd and 3rd respectively. So we've seen some great racing out of both Schott and Schaller this year. Now you got to kind of wonder with the new tires and maybe a new feel to the car if Mark Chalet doesn't have some things figured out and can get some podium finishes himself. Outlaws were back out again. Only had 5 entries this time. Chalet was in this one as well. Newcomer Jack Lichheim, that's right, he was racing for Qualheim Racing. This weekend jumped in the purple 25L. Made some nice advances towards Jason Bolster. Just couldn't get things done on Saturday night as that was his first ever attempt at racing in an Outlaw car. Jason Stark, who's raced 4 features this year, he's won all 4 of them. He fended off Jason Bolster, Jack Lichheim, and Mark Chalet in the feature event. Let's go to the street stocks, the biggest growing class of the La Crosse Speedway. We had a total of 27 street stocks raced this year. 23 made the feature this past Saturday night, and it was John Aaron. We've seen him in some, well, Mustang, and I'm not sure what it was he had last year, but this year he has a Mitsubishi, which is really kind of interesting to watch him run in. And he really got things going about halfway through this one. He had to fight off Keith Larson and Al Bartles in the street stocks. First, it was Aaron who saw the checkered flag. Al Bartles, who had won a race earlier in the night, always tough on the Action Track quarter mile. And, of course, Keith Larson, who I don't even know how he was passed towards the end of that race right there. I thought he pretty much had the feature race sewed up. And we saw what happened as Larson was topped by Aaron. Looking at the point standings now, John Aaron, who's won this class in the past, is only 4 points behind Keith Larson. And there's a whole bunch of drivers behind him that have gotten the V6 class figured out. And this could be quite interesting as we head towards Oktoberfest. We had one more race on the night that we had to show you. We kind of edited some of this because we had a big crowd watching. When the Outlaws race, we had the Subway Sub-Eating Championships. Now, they won't let me enter this contest. I still don't know why. I could find somebody else to hold the microphone. They just think it would be unfair for the king of the food to be able to top what these guys do. Watch these 4 competitors. You got to give it up for the gal on the right. She was the only one to enter. She entered late, did a nice job, and took a lot of ribbing from the crowd that was standing out there. You might want to close your eyes a tad bit with about a minute to go in this one. As well, the guy that's in between this one and this one had a problem right towards the end. Here is the Subway Eating Challenge.
Jaws are strong. He's got quite a bit of stuff to go. Girlie here's just dancing around hers. Doing a good nice job. Looks like we've got ham, we've got onion, mayonnaise, lettuce. Outstanding. Her jaws are going to hurt till next Thursday. There goes the whole thing in his mouth. Thing is, he's got to show me an empty mouth, and I hate this part of the job. I got to see the guts in his mouth.
That may be the fastest. What do you think? You're coming back at ours. Can you match this guy here?
Close.
Uh-oh, he's got... So now we have 4 out of 5 champions. Our 5th will be crowned coming up in July. We're going to take those 5 into a big Subway sub-eating contest for the championship in August. That winner will get a Subway gift card and a sub and a trophy from Subway. Still would like to be in that eating contest, but not next to the guy that had to throw it up on the table. He did clean it off, though. I'll give him credit for doing that. Coming up next, we're going to talk more of Thunder stocks and the future of what the number 16 could bring to the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. This man waited a long time to get back out there, and he's doing it, and doing it in a Menards-style colored car. Paul Mahlum III is going to join us here next on 7 Wars Racing.
Whatever your perfect temperature, you'll enjoy consistent comfort with the heating and air conditioning systems homeowners rank #1. American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
Get up to $1,100 off on select American Standard systems. Call Carey Heating or visit AmericanStandardAir.com for complete program eligibility, dates, details, and restrictions. Carey Heating and Air Conditioning, your residential specialist. Have you tried the great lunch buffet at Pizza Hut? Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1:30, Pizza Hut in La Crosse and Winona offers you an all-you-can-eat lunch buffet for just $5.99. All the salad, pasta, breadsticks, and of course, delicious piping hot pizza you can eat. Want to try something really special? Pizza Hut is now featuring a bacon-stuffed crust pizza. Apple smoked bacon with melty cheese and stuffed in the crust. Just $12.99 for one topping at your La Crosse and Winona Pizza Hut. Call for delivery or order online. Pizza Hut. The next time you visit the west coast of Wisconsin, there's a hotel in La Crosse you need to check into. Here's General Manager Roxanne North.
We want to treat every guest with the best that we have to offer, and that starts with the front desk all the way through the housekeeping department. My general philosophy in life is I treat my staff the way I want to be treated, and I pass that on that we treat our guests that way.
For reservations, visit the website, settlein.com.
People come here, we want them to feel like family.
Hi, race fans. Welcome back. 7 Wars Racing, KQEG TV. I'm the voice, Dan Dyker. Before we introduce our next guest, I want to remind you that Saturday night, the only racing going on at La Crosse is the Hornets. Otherwise, here's what's on tap as it's the annual Smash-A-Rama. You've got the Green Mama Jet Car Motorhome Meltdown. I understand that Doug Rose from Florida is going to take his Green Mama Jet Car and melt an entire motorhome to the ground. That's going to be interesting. I've never seen him do that before. He's done cars, but an entire motorhome. That's going to be cool. Monster trucks are going to be back out, crushing all kinds of vehicles in the front straightaway. We have a trailer T-bone crash, a swimming pool crash, rollover competition, burnout competition. Oh, goodness, I know I'm missing some things because Chuck Dewey just likes to blow up all kinds of stuff there at the La Crosse Speedway. Oh, figure 8 races coming out as well. Smash-A-Rama starts at 7:30 on Saturday night. Of course, we're going to replay that for you later this week on KQEG TV, and have been promised the world's largest fireworks show ever to hit the La Crosse Speedway. I've seen them twice at Madison International Speedway. They're called Thundercat Fireworks. They come out of Oregon, Wisconsin, and if you were at Madison last year during this time or last weekend like we were, it's simply astounded. This fireworks show puts small communities to shame, and I can back my words on this one here. It's going to be the biggest show. I've been there for 10 years, and probably the biggest we've ever seen at the Speedway, so can't wait for that. Also throwing out some fireworks in the Thunderstocks this year is Black River Falls' Paul Mahlum III. He's been listed as living in Holman, La Crosse, Sparta, Toma, under a bridge down by the river, but he's here with us today. Paul, good to have you in finally, buddy.
Thank you, Dan.
Known you for quite a while, man. I've known you on and off the racetrack for I think as long as I've been at the Speedway, and I think one of the first years I met you, you were running Hornets.
Yeah, 2010. I started actually at Smash-A-Rama.
Oh, what a way to get your feet wet. So did you end up smashing the car afterwards, or?
No, that car actually was running on 2 cylinders that night, so I guess it was a good starter car for me, so.
Well, you know, the Mahlum name at the Speedway, I know there's different branches of the name, second cousins, third cousins. I mean, but it's one of those names of the Speedway. If you mention Mahlum, everybody says, oh, are you related to so-and-so, like the Degenhardts? Are you related to this one or this one or this one? I mean, you've got quite the family name at that La Crosse Speedway racetrack.
Yeah, well, got my grandpa and who raced there during the Weirs era. My dad, who races occasionally off and on with the late model that Todd Korsh ran once this year. And then my cousin Scott Mahlum, Melissa Roosh, John Clausen, Sean McCarthy.
You're actually admitting to knowing reckless John Clausen?
Unfortunately.
Just kidding. We like John. That guy's a handful of destruction waiting to happen. How does it feel to be a part of one of the longest racing names at the Speedway, though?
Honestly, to me, my dad and grandpa, they set their own legacy. I'm out there to do my own. I'm trying to branch off of the Mahlum name by doing my own thing, not doing what they did. So.
And of course, starting on now, you didn't run a Hornet for too long, though.
Well, I ran the one night at Smash-O-Rama, then I think I ran 4 nights in a Honda Civic in 2010. And my dad sold a car to Dobbs. I took off up until last year, and then actually I think it was Christmas Day 2014. I was looking for a car. My cousin Scotty messaged me and said that he had bought a Thunderstock and he had this Hornet car sitting there that if I wanted to run it, I could. So I ran that last year, and then
this year, a whole different story.
Yeah.
Same track, just a bigger motor.
And different car.
Talk about the adjustment going from a Hornet to a Thunderstock. I mean, obviously, I like the different versions. I've heard from people in the past that have done that have gone from the 2 divisions that really know how to get around the quarter mile.
The biggest thing I've noticed is you're throwing a car into the corners that weighs more than what your Hornet car does. Plus you got, 8 cylinders compared to 4. Actually, the beginning of the year was hard for me. I was still thinking I was running the Hornet car and being able to get on it, sooner and harder, but I've quickly learned by notes that I've put on the dash that I can't do that. So
nothing wrong with that. And then, you still got some rookies out there. There's some younger guys that are learning. I think turn 4 is probably one of the hardest ones for a lot of guys because you can follow people into 1, 2, and 3. 4 just becomes so wide when you get up on that front straight wall. Being able to handle your back end is probably the biggest challenge. As your Scott Mahlum, the donut man, realized last year, as he would put a donut down almost after every race.
Well, I've noticed 3 and 4 for me actually is the easiest one because you can go in there harder because of the banking and get out a little bit harder because you still have that little bit of banking there. And that 1 and 2 is the hardest because, you got the dip down there, and then a lot of times you're entering, kind of up on the big track and down, so.
I've noticed over the past probably 3 races that you've really started to come into your own. The first couple weeks was a feeling out process. You didn't want to go out there and start wrecking people. You didn't want to have that kind of a name, and I know a lot of drivers appreciated that. But at the same time, you also had to show, well, I'm just not going to be riding the lower berm on this thing, and you guys are just going to pass me all day long. When do you think it was, as we're at the halfway point of the season, that you really started coming into your own in a Thunderstock?
I would say it was probably about the 3rd weekend. I realized, okay, now I've got a handle on the car, I got an understanding. Now I can go out and give her my all. And then 2 or 3 weeks ago, I switched to the Hoosiers, and that night I went out, I showed, Bolster and them guys that, I could compete with them and finish second in the heat, but it's still a learning process with having the Hoosiers on now because I went from the good rides, which are basically a DOT tire, to a racing slick, so.
What kind of adjustment do you have to make running those Hoosiers? I think you're one of the first drivers I've interviewed since the Hoosiers have come out this year.
Personally, I think a lot of it's all in the throttle when getting out of the corner, when to get on and when to ease up on it, so.
Are you where you wanted to be at this point of the year as a Thunderstock driver? I mean, obviously you like to get wins. Everybody wants to get wins, but are you where you thought you could be?
Honestly, I think I'm past where I thought I would be. I thought I'd still be, the back, like 2, 3 cars every week, you know, still try and figure it out, still out there spinning donuts and everything else, but I think I'm actually farther than what I was expecting to be, so.
That's outstanding. You parked next to Scott, who's got one of 3 El Caminos in the field this year. How much do you lean on each other for advice?
Honestly, we lean on each other quite a bit. We talk quite a bit during the week as to, my car did this, you know, Saturday, what should I do, and how should I fix this on your car, or do we need to do anything to yours? So we honestly push on each other and realistically act like a racing family. We argue at the track on Saturdays like we did this past week because of issues that I had, but in return I gave him all the help I could give him with what he needed to do for his.
That's just a part of being in a family racing compared to maybe being out there solo or having to deal with other people. As we wind down the program now, if you didn't get a chance to watch the program this week, obviously Paul Mahlum is going to be on my Whitetail Crossing Convenience Stores Race Report radio show coming up on Saturday from noon to 1, and you'll be able to hear a little bit more from Paul. As the seconds wind down, talk about your sponsors this year. Who's helping you get around that action track quarter mile?
I got to thank the consignment shop in Moore and Black River Falls. That's my grandma's store. She's helped out quite a bit this year. Alter Metal Recycling in La Crosse, they've helped out giving us sheet metal and stuff the last couple of years, and my dad at Paul's Towing with his advice and everything else he's done.
And of course the family. Without the family, man, it'd be a hard climb up the hill.
Yes and no.
We'll just kind of leave that one at that. Paul Mahlum III is a Thunderstock driver at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway in the very colorful number 16, and he's kind of a humble guy, can be, but would still encourage you to go down to the pits and congratulate him. I like when he's got confidence to say, I'm past the point I wanted to be at this year. That means we could really see some more good things coming into Paul later up this year. I want to thank you for coming in. I want to remind you that Tundra Super Late Models, Tundra Sportsman, the Vintage Series of the Midwest Dash Trucks will invade the La Crosse Speedway on Friday night. Saturday night, Smash-A-Rama. That's pretty much says that in a nutshell. If we've got it out there, we're going to tear it up and we're going to smash it up. And I can't wait to see the Green Mama jet car melt a motorhome. Could you, if you had the power, would you like to say, I could see you doing it, melt a motorhome?
I can think of other things I'd like to melt with it, but
see what happens in the near future. Maybe we can get Paul to do some stunts there at the Speedway. You can always find out more about the TV show. Hit Facebook, Seven Wars Racing, still about 1,000 people and growing, about 7,000 followers, I think it is. And you can also follow along the hashtag. The hashtag is OHWG, and you can catch me on Twitter at LFS Mike Man. Until next week, well, thank you for stopping by, and got some good shows coming up here. We're going to get really in depth with Smash-A-Rama coming up next week right here on KQEG TV.